It's only a matter of time before Bleach takes over the world with how impactful its episodes are. Banger after banger each week, and this episode is no different. So let's break down all the details that you missed and compare it to the manga. And if I didn't say this earlier, since we will be covering the latest episode of Bleach and its manga counterpart, spoilers ahead. This week's episode actually used less manga chapters than usual. Bleach episode 7 used 4 chapters to cover its runtime. This would be chapters 511 to 514, which is roughly about 66 pages with 275 panels. So let's see what's been adapted and what's been Getsuga Tensho'd to Kingdom Come. About a week ago, we got a nice panel showing us the first Gote 13, which I wasn't really interested in because it's not like we were getting a spin-off series or a one-shot manga for it. But this week's episode of Bleach showed me the reason for the reveal, and we got a treat. At the start of the episode, we get a view of the Soul Society 1,000 years ago when young Yama and his captains would take on the Quincy and the Quincy King. They completely slaughtered the Quincy, like young boys burning off the feelers off defenseless ants. But strangely enough, the Quincy King hasn't changed much since then. And holy crap, these guys are total beasts. Mindless killing machines with hearts of solid lead. 2 minutes of non-stop amazing sakuga, and then the episode would begin. And you know we're in for a wild ride. We begin our episode with young Shunsui fawning over a really great painting of the Captain Commander like any child would, only for the commander to bust him and choke him out like any loving parent would. Shunsui thinks this is a painting of a god or something, but Yama comments that it's just another monster that showed up in the Soul Society but will never show up again. This shows just how much he's changed since his younger days. This of course would be the beginning of manga chapter 511, titled Die Standing, which is a direct tribute to the Captain Commander himself, who of course died at the hands of Yhwach while standing. Once Yama falls, all the other captains would know it, but Shunsui's reaction would be a little bit too big and he forgets about his stern ritter who had a gun, and then he gets shot. What is it about Bleach characters running off in the middle of battle? Oh well. Looking at the manga panels, the only deviation seen was that of the captain's reactions. In the anime, we see Shunsui, Ukitake, Soifan, and Toshiro react, but in the manga panels, we only see Shunsui and Ukitake. It is in the same manga chapter that we finally get the name of the stern ritter that's been following the king around. He is Hashwa. Now, there is a slight difference from the manga and anime in these panels right here, when Yhwach says it's time to go. In the manga, we don't see his godlike sword, but in the anime, it's right there dazzling my damn eyes. The manga and anime would pretty much follow the same path right up to the point where the anime shows us a scene of Yama sitting teaching the future generation. But we leap right back on track with Yhwach blowing up Yama and then ordering the stern ritter to summon the Soldat to further devastate the Soul Society. Once Yhwach says that it's over, this would be the final panel that would be adapted. In truth, the anime skipped out 4 panels, but I'll leave them blurred out as I believe that these panels are a little bit too spoilery, so I'll reveal them in the next episode. So check that out when it comes out. The manga chapter would end on those panels. We would actually start out at the beginning of chapter 512, with Ichigo now sensing the deaths of all those in the Soul Society and finally breaking through Kilge's prison. Ichigo would be so pissed that I believe he killed Stern Ritter Shaz Domino in one blast while at the same time saving Akon. And oh yeah, in case I didn't mention it, this damn show is freaking gory and brutal. Heads and body parts everywhere, and I love it. What I really love though is the anime showing us a really well shot POV of when Ichigo showed up. The other captains and stern ritters now instantly know that he's free. In the anime, it gave us a split screen of all the stern ritters and captains, but in the manga, we only saw a split screen of all the other captains, and a shot of Yhwach as well. This is where the manga title would be revealed, The Stand Ablaze. Ichigo would put Akon in a safe place and then start scanning the area for those who are alive. Within the manga, it wasn't clear what happened when he saw the downed Shinigami, but it was indicated that Ichigo didn't bring Akon along. But in the anime, we see this guy ask his fellow Shinigami if they are okay, and then Ichigo would lay down Akon and take off. He scans the area to see who's alive and then decides to pay Byakuya a visit, where the proud Shinigami captain would ask Ichigo to save the Soul Society. Ichigo is pissed to say the least, and now the anime shows us the pits of his rage by his spiritual pressure evaporating the rain before it touches him. I really don't want to be a nitpicker, but in the manga we actually see where his arm had some damage on it, but in the anime none were present. The anime and manga would pretty much follow the same path right up to the end of the chapter when Ichigo tracks down the Quincy King and confronts him. This is where manga chapter 512 would end and the anime would get to its halfway point. The anime would resume with Byakuya now leaving everything up to Ichigo and taking his leave from this world, signified by his blade dissolving. This is where manga chapter 513, titled The Dark Moon Stroke, would begin. Yhwach wanted to take on Ichigo, but His Majesty wasn't having it. He steps up to the plate only to get challenged by the young Shinigami. Let's not kid ourselves, the animation here is top notch and deserves some kind of award, cause man, I really love how the anime extends some of these fights, especially with the one showing that Ichigo didn't just rely on his Getsuga and try to end the fight as quickly as possible. He actually went toe-to-toe with Yhwach. Like Yama, Ichigo's strikes are accented in red while Yhwach's is accented in blue, so our eyes can follow the action much easier. But beyond that, the manga had Ichigo launch his Getsuga at the beginning of the fight. But this is where the anime and the manga would sync up once more, with Yhwach overpowering Ichigo and stabbing him in the neck only to find out that he was using Blood Vein to protect himself. I really love how the anime shows how the reishi reacts under Ichigo's skin, pulsating as if to the beat of his heart. But when Ichigo launches his attack, this would be the end of manga chapter 513. Chapter 514 would start off when Ichigo lands a blow on His Majesty and he tries to block it but gets his arm burnt. This chapter is titled Born in the Dark, much like the title of the episode. His Majesty attacks Ichigo to prove his suspicions right. Ichigo is using a high-level Quincy move, but how could he? Seems we were right. Ichigo's power did undergo some kind of change when it resonated with Kilge's jail. It awakened something deep within him, but Ichigo doesn't seem to be aware of this, and the Quincy King would then drop a bombshell. Seems Kilge can only contain enemies and not Quincy's. And then the real bombshell would be dropped. Seems Ichigo's mother was involved with Quincy somehow, and I speculate that she was herself a Quincy and Ichigo is half Quincy. But then again, this would raise so many questions. The anime and manga would pretty much follow the same path up to the point where Yhwach attacks Ichigo again. In the manga, he just attacked and overpowered Ichigo, but in the anime, he used a high-level Quincy technique that attacked Ichigo from all angles. When he falls to the ground and the Quincy King attacks again, this is where the anime and manga would catch up. But it seems they're at their time limit now and have to leave. I guess when it's dinner time, despite you wanting to murder your enemies, there's nothing that can really trump dinner time. Anyways, as they're leaving, they discover that Aizen messed up the timing somehow. But Ichigo isn't having it and launches an attack, only to get his sword sliced clean off, and there was nothing else he could do. This would be the end of both the anime and the manga chapter. During the ending scenes, we get more than a detailed look at the Gote 13. Well, the past ones anyways, with some cool illustrations, and a lot of them kind of look like our own captain, don't they? But all in all, they look really menacing as hell, and I wouldn't want to face these guys in a dark alley. Our current Gote 13 looks like a bunch of puppies compared to them. Way to go, Bleach, this is definitely hitting some strong points, and I would definitely go for the Hella arc 150%. I'm all for it. Let's go. Let's have a spin-off now. Let's try and not get caught up in the hype, and let's break down the episode and see what was adapted. Time to get to the numbers. Bleach episode 7 covered about 4 manga chapters, with each chapter having an average of 16 pages, adding up to 78 pages in all. Each page having an average of around 68 panels, all adding up to 275 panels, with 17 of those being unique or not adapted, which means only 258 panels were adapted, which gives us a split of roughly about 93.82% versus 6.18%, being the episode that covered the most manga panels of any episode so far, and it has some of the most anime exclusive scenes in its runtime as well, which I think I said in the last episode too. Very ironic, isn't it? Bleach episode 7 was one of the best anime episodes of Bleach that I've seen in a really long time. I mean, episode 6 was pretty hype and epic, the fight choreography was pretty amazing, and Bleach has been trending so much over the internet since this has been airing, and I can't even put into words how much I really love and appreciate this series for coming back. It's rejuvenated my love for anime and even more. There's so much I want to say, but I like keeping these videos short and to the point. But all in all, this anime season has lived up to the hype, and I can't wait to see where it's taken us. Leave a like on the video and let me know what you think about Bleach so far. For everyone who leaves a comment, I'll sponsor you a nameless Zanpakuto. I promise this time. I promise. Consider subscribing, it really helps the channel. Peace out and stay safe out there, V Nation.